Brendan, man, thanks for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Just excited to do it.
All right, so you're back in Cleveland. I thought you were in New York. That's just me being stereotypical.
No. I mean, I haven't really, I didn't really tell anyone. I just kind of left.
This Irish could buy the whole city.
Yeah, kind of, cause like, yeah, nobody's hanging out with their friends anyway. So I was just kind of like, it's the same, really. I mean, I guess they'll notice when things go back to normal. Maybe not.
They're gonna like shoot you a text, be like, "Hey, meet me at this bar." Be like, "Dude, I'm in a different city."
Yeah.
Like, dude, I left months ago. But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about podcasting. You can just do it from anywhere. So, who cares where you are?
Yeah, it's been good. I was never gonna be a lifelong New York guy. Like I like New York. It's a lot for me. Like I'm not a huge city guy. So I was always planning on moving and COVID and everything being shut down and then my lease being up kind of just accelerated the process like maybe a year or so where me and my fiance were kind of like, let's just go.
So, being from Cleveland, what's your favorite part about Cleveland?
My favorite part about Cleveland is that you're living in a city, but not really. You know what I mean? Like it's like so I'm not out in the fucking sticks or something like that, but you know, there's no traffic jams or like they shoot a lot of movies in Cleveland because because it looks like a city, but there's no one there. So it's like they're like, how much to shut down this street? And the city's just like, I don't know, free. You know, it's already shut down. Nobody's been on there in 10 years. So yeah, I just love like it's the Midwest kind of like politeness and like laid back and everyone's nice, but it is still a city. There's like, you know, you can go to museums, there's a comedy scene, there's big comedy clubs, there's, you know, there's good food. So it's like it's you're living in a city, but it's way more laid back than New York.
Were you planning on going to Cleveland immediately after leaving New York? Or was that just like a fallback since it was a year before your schedule?
No, I was pretty open to like, you know, the only so the I was I wanted to come either to where my family is, Cleveland, or where my fiance's family is, which is in Maine,
Mm.
and I kind of let her pick. I mean, the third option would be if a job came up at some point, I would move to LA. You know, if a job I wanted came up, like a writing gig or something like that. I'd be open to moving to LA. I wouldn't be thrilled to do it, but I would be open to it. And then I just kind of let my fiance decide, and it just made more sense coming to Cleveland. So
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm actually from Pittsburgh, so I understand that vibe you get. You know what I mean? Like you're in a city, but you're not really in a city. Obviously, Pittsburgh, like Cleveland, similar size, but yeah, they shoot a lot of movies there for the same exact reason.
yeah,
So yeah, um, it's good to hear. Glad you're doing well there. So let's just get right into it. So how did you get into the stand-up comedy scene? And you've probably answered this question a bunch of times, but we kind of just want to hear your story. Tell as much as you want, but the floor is yours.
well, I had terrible stage fright. I still do sometimes, but I had really terrible stage fright. So I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I would like I was writing jokes like years and years and years before I tried stand up. I was just afraid to do it. Like when I was in school, like if I would have to talk, it could have been in front of like five people. My face would get all red and I'd fucking feel lightheaded and like I blank out and stuff like that. So I just had horrible stage fright. But basically I had a drug and alcohol problem and I got sober. I got sober young. I got sober when I was 23 and I really started to get my life together, and I think by the time I was like 27 or 28, I kind of was just like, what am I doing? Like I'm working at a good job and I hate it. Like I hate it. I want to tell jokes. Like what is the worst thing that would happen, you know? Like so okay, I have stage fright. I fucking faint. Who cares? You know? Like I think sobriety helped me realize that like yeah, there's way worse things that can happen than to be embarrassed, you
Sure.
know? So like so I took a class at the Cleveland Improv because I didn't even know about open mics. Like I didn't have any friends that did comedy,
Mm.
and in college, like I wasn't part of the like crew of people that did comedy or whatever. So I didn't even know open mics existed. So I just Googled like how do you do stand up, and and there was this class at the Cleveland Improv, and at the end of it there was a show. And I was like, okay, well, then if I take the class, I have to do the show, you know? And through that, and by the way, it was a good class because, like, I think there's a lot of shitty classes out there where, like, they try and teach you how to be funny. And that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, and this guy who taught the class was just much like taught much more practical stuff. Like, and I still remember it like 10 plus years later. Like, it was like, you know, use less words to say the same thing. Move the fucking mic stand out of the way, you know, like little things that I still see people do like that, like they take the mic out and they'll leave the stand in front of them and it's distracting. Like, so it was like, it wasn't one of these shitty classes. It was a pretty good class, but, and then from there, I just kind of, you know, he told me about the open mics in Cleveland and I was, um, I was bad. Everyone's bad at first, you know? Like, so I was bad, but I was good. I was good for the bad people, you know, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
was for a guy that was doing it for 3 months, I was good. I was really good, which equals really bad, but, you know, so I moved to New York so quickly because I felt like I had lost a lot of time. I was 28 when I moved to New York. I felt like, you know, and in hindsight, it's like it doesn't fucking matter, you know, it works out. But I felt like I started stand up super late. So I think I moved to New York like 7 months in. And I went to my first open mic there, which was like a notoriously like kind of brutal open mic. It was like I don't know if you guys know like Mike Racine and Mike Lawrence and Sam Morrell and those guys. Like it was called the Woodshed, and it was just like people were rough on you. And I went up with like my best fucking 3 minutes of jokes from Cleveland. And I didn't realize this at the time. Like later, years later, I obviously like I know now that, you know, if you're brand new, people don't really pay attention to you that much because there's so many people coming in and out of the scene that it's like you kind of have to stick around for people to give you some attention at
Mm.
open mics, which is sort of shitty in a way, but I'm as guilty of it as anyone else. But I told my best 3 minutes of jokes to dead silence,
Oh,
dead, like
oh my God.
nothing at all. And I remember it was raining. It's at a place that was called Legion Bar that's near the corner of Bushwick and Metropolitan. I remember it like it was yesterday, walking out into the rain by myself and just being like, what the fuck did I do? Like,
Mm.
why did I move here? You know, and but you know, you just go to another open mic the next night, and eventually things somewhat worked out.
Let me ask you something. Is it better? So I've been to a few comedy shows in New York, and some other cities. Do people actually boo at all if you're that bad, or is like the dead silence sort of the equivalent of you just not performing well?
I've never seen anyone get booed for being bad. I have seen people get booed for for saying something like fucked up.
Right.
That's the only time I've ever seen someone like booed by a large portion of the audience. I have seen, of course, I've seen plenty of people heckled, and all that shit. But booing, no, that would be crazy if they just booed you for being bad. Although it does happen. Like I think like if you go back to like the Apollo and Def Jam and shit like that. There are rooms where they're brutal and they will boo you off stage, but I've never seen it.
So what's like the process of you like writing your acts or like writing your jokes and then making sure, those jokes are funny and then those are going to flow well within your act?
Well, it's a weird thing, right? Because sometimes, so I usually, I've been off for a little bit writing because I've been just busy with a bunch of stuff, but usually I write every morning and I'll just, I almost never write after 11 a.m. Like almost never. Like I don't know why. It's just not what I do, but so I'll write and then throughout the course of my life, if there's something I think of that might be a joke, I'll just make a note in my phone and I'll look at that when I'm writing. But the bizarre thing is like the thing that's really weird about stand up, and I think I'm like the more you do it, the more you kind of get a sense of this. But sometimes I'll write 2 jokes in a day, and joke A, I'll think that's a fucking killer joke. That joke is amazing. Joke B, I'm like, this joke sucks. Maybe I'll say it. We'll see. And then you take it out in front of an audience and find out they hate joke A and love joke B. It's like a weird thing where sometimes your own instincts aren't right. So that's what's weird about COVID because for so long I was living in this world where I would write in the morning and generally get a chance to try those jokes out in the next, if not that night, the next day or two. And then we had this 4 or 5 month period where I couldn't try anything out except, Zoom shows, but they were mostly on Zoom shows. I just bullshitted because it was weird to do like material, So now I just have like chunks of material that I've never said, which is a different experience to try and figure out what I'm now in the process of figuring out what of it is good and what's bad.
Sort of going off when you're writing jokes or preparing your acts, how much do you cater to the audience of the city that you're in? So, like, do you cater to, or do you prep jokes for when you're in New York compared to, let's say, Cleveland or Minneapolis or Atlanta? How's that sort of work?
I used to have jokes that I couldn't do on the road that were like kind of that just worked really well in like hip Brooklyn rooms, and I decided I didn't want that. You know what I mean? Like that I didn't that to me I wanted to find something that was, could kill in some hip loft show in Brooklyn and could kill at the Looney Bin in Little Rock, Arkansas. Like, like that's my goal. So I dumped all those jokes, and now I don't cater to the city. And, part of I don't really I mean, I'm a pretty liberal guy, but like I don't find political stuff that funny anyway. So like I don't have to worry about that. There's no political jokes in my act, really. I mean, you can tell from my act. You can tell from fucking looking at me that I'm probably a left-leaning guy, but I would rather I would rather take a room of people that may or may not agree with each other and get them to laugh at sort of the common human experience and realize they agree on most things than just go up there and shit on Trump and walk half the room, like I don't. So um yeah, the only time I cater to a city is like, I'll riff on a city, like, I'm on the road a lot, so like I don't really write jokes about it, but I'll like, if there's something funny about a given city, I'll riff on it and do that.
What's
You
the?
ripped,
Go ahead, Johnson.
I was just gonna ask if you ripped on his hometown.
Cleveland?
Yeah,
No, it's so fucking hard. It's
or
just
is it too easy?
it's similar to Trump. It's like all the jokes have been done. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know what, like, Cleveland was the butt of every city joke for from probably like 1970 to now, so it's like it's a little bit hard to do. I mean, I I had a good joke that I did at Hilarities here in Cleveland a couple years ago. I was on the road because I was living in New York at the time, and there was this across from the arena. Um, quick, I think it's called. I think they may have changed the name, but it was the Q. It was Quicken Loans Arena. It may be Rocket Mortgage Arena now. I don't know, but it's where the Cavs play. They had this giant, a full building was covered in a picture of LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when he left for the second time, there's this bridge in Cleveland, with these famous statues on it, um, called the Guardians of Transportation. They're just these kind of like gothic looking guys, and they replaced LeBron James with the giant banner was just one of those guys. And I kind of just had a riff about how fucking sad our city is, that like the only thing we could think of to replace LeBron James is a statue. There's not a single other living person that we could put on a building. It's just like, fuck, dude, I put up one of the statues, I guess, because that's LeBron is gone and Drew Carey moved. So
Yeah, they
like,
kind of just mailed it in, and yeah, this is fine.
yeah, but it's weird. It's like it's a weird thing where it's like it's just such well-worn territory where it's like, yeah, we know our river caught on fire a few times. Like, we're a piece of shit. We get it.
Yeah, it's like you got to be original with the content.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like and I also like, I don't want to like I would never. I'm very open to making fun of Cleveland, but I would never like uh you know earnestly shit on it because I love it.
Yeah.
I love Cleveland. Like I think people love Cleveland. People from Cleveland love it in kind of an extra special way because it's seen as such a shitty place by the rest of the country.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in something together.
I feel like that's how people are with New Jersey too.
Yeah, similar. Very
Yeah, it's
similar.
similar.
Yeah.
So, what's the favorite or your favorite place, whether it's city or venue, that you've performed in? Whether it was like a great crowd or you performed the best there, or just like great memory that you've had. Like, what's your favorite place?
Well, my two favorite clubs in the country are Go Bananas in Cincinnati and the St. Louis Funny Bone. I just because I have the crowds are always good. I'm friends with the staff. It's just they're always good weeks there. But I think probably my most special comedy experience was doing Seth Meyers. That was my first like real TV spot, and he just went out of his way to be nice to me. Like he really went out of his way to be nice to me and make sure everything went well, and the set went well, and it was a really cool experience. So and then I've done huge theaters I've opened for guys. That's a weird experience because then you think a joke bombed, but you don't realize like when you're in a giant theater, there's like a delay, and then all of a sudden there's this kind of roar. It's like it's totally different experience. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then there's been like shit bar shows in Brooklyn that I've loved, that I've had like a blast just doing crowd work, So I don't know, all over the map, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you want to walk us through how getting on the late night with Seth Meyers came about?
Sure. I had it pretty pretty easy, really. Like I was frustrated for so long because I was like, because I had a lot of like TV ready jokes, like which are if there's people that listen to you that are like that are comics, or starting out and you want to do a TV set, it's just keep it clean and keep it kind of tight, and that's a TV joke. Like shorter and cleaner is a good TV joke, and I had a ton of TV jokes, and like I was just kind of bummed that I hadn't got a late night set yet, and I was opening for Colin Jost a fair amount from SNL at the time, and he was like, "What late night shows have you done?" And I was like, "None." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, Yeah, I haven't done any." And he was like, "Would you want to?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, let me see if I can help you." And like I thought he meant like maybe he'd mentioned something to his agent, but he literally took out his phone, texted Seth Meyers, and was like, "What's your email?" And I gave him my email, and then the booker just booked me. I didn't
Wow.
send a set in or anything. No, like I eventually had to send in a set, but only for standards and practices, not for because Jost and Seth Meyers, both having been head writers at SNL, like they have a trust there. I think that he said, put this kid on the show, and so I had it pretty. I mean, it was a long time coming, I felt, but the actual process of it was super easy. Thanks to Colin Jost.
Yeah, that's awesome. That you'd help you. I mean, he's living like a guy, or every kind of guy's dream. He's funny, and then now he's with Scarlett Johansson, so it's like, helps you out. What can he do?
He's also the nicest guy. Like he was very well aware of what a club pays an opening act, and he was at SNL since he uh graduated college. So at this point, um there are very few people, if any. I'm not talking about cast members, just people who have, because he was a writer for most of the time, but there are very few people, if any, who have been at SNL longer than him. So in the history of the show. So, he's done well financially, and he knew what clubs pay a opening act, and so every Monday after I'd opened for him, and I never asked, and he never told me he was going to do this, he'd Venmo me what to me was a lot of money, like as a bonus,
Wow.
and to him was definitely not a lot of money, but to me and this was 6-7 years ago, but it was like every time I'd open for him, he'd pay me just way more than what the club paid me, and it was like, fuck, dude,
Wow.
that's a good guy.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at your website.
Yeah, it's probably nothing on it. I haven't done much there.
Well, one of the things that stuck out to me is that you have a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I do. I have a blue belt.
So, first question: what exactly is jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-Jitsu is a Brazilian martial art. It's It's grappling, really. It's kind of a bit of a combat. It's like submission grappling. It was started as it was started sort of as a form for a smaller person to defend themselves against a bigger person. But it's very, very everyone in the MMA has to know some jujitsu, because it's like once you're on the ground, it's the best way to fight.
So how did you get into it?
Through Diego Lopez, who's a comic in Brooklyn, and he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's got a kind of a army of comics that he trains, and so I train with him, and I just loved it. I've been away from it for so long now. It feels weird, just with it's one of the sweating on each other on gross mats is probably the last thing that will open back up,
Yeah.
So
That and strip clubs, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I it's weird. I feel it's weird because I would do MMA and jiu-jitsu. It's weird, like when I was a drunk, I would get in fights all the time, and I would get beat up, like just because I was drunk. Like I was always a good athlete, but I would pick fights with like people bigger than me. And now that I'm sober, I have not been in a fight since I've been sober. Like because I used to think when I used to get in fights when I was a drunk, I used to be like, yeah, it's just part of life. You fight all the time. And then I got sober and realized like,
This isn't how it is. Yeah.
incredibly easy not to get in a fight. Like, turns out it's very simple, but like I do feel a nice sense of confidence being like, okay, if somebody attacked me, if some drunk attacked me or something like that, I could defend I could de-escalate the situation pretty easily, like unless it was just a gigantic dude that knocked me the fuck out. But like for the most part, like I do have some fighting skills now, and it is a nice makes you feel a little safer, even though I'll probably never ever use them.
So
Yeah.
you said you
Sure.
haven't done it in a while. How long has it been?
Since lockdown in New York.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it one of those things where you get it and it's not like a certification, right? Like once you have the blue belt, you're good for, or
Yeah,
how's that work?
well, I have it for life, but I mean, a blue belt, jiu-jitsu is interesting because it's a newer martial art, so like relatively. Brazilian jiu-jitsu specifically. There is something called Japanese jiu-jitsu, but it's a totally different thing. When people say jiu-jitsu, they mean Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, like in karate, like depending on what school you go to, you could get a black belt in like 5 years or 3 years, but in jiu-jitsu, it's new enough that everyone can trace their teaching lineage back, that no teacher wants to be known as someone who gives out belts to people that don't deserve it. So the belt system takes a long time. So being a blue belt is nothing. You guys are white belts. Yeah, just by that it's nothing. Everyone's a white belt, so blue belts.
I'll take it.
Blue belt's the next belt, so I only have one belt. So it's not
Okay.
like I'm not far up the ladder, but it took me, 3 years.
Wow.
Or yeah.
What's after blue belt then? Is it black or
No, it's blue, purple, brown, black.
Interesting. Okay, I never knew that. Are you a fan of The Office?
I am, but I don't know that I watched the later seasons. I need to go back and just binge the whole thing because I don't know if I.
I mean, you probably got some time, and it's still on Netflix. Wow, you might as well take advantage. But I just keep thinking of Dwight. He's in that. I don't know if it's jujitsu or karate or something, but he's in a class for like years and years and years, and he's like in a class with like all these little kids, and for some reason he just can't get certified or passed or whatever.
So I'm curious about your role in like the Rad Dude cast. We've obviously had your two other guys on, but how did you get involved with this?
Anthony and Greg were we would just hit all the same open mics. And so we became pretty tight. And you know, they grew up together, so they're best friends. You know, good dating way back, but we got pretty tight, just kind of hitting the same open mics every night, and similar comedic sensibilities. And we were like, I think how it went down is we were coming home from a show, and just bullshitting in the car, just like bullshitting the way comics bullshit. And what we kind of realized is like, and this was back, you know, we've been doing it a long time. So this was back when like the standard format, it was like WTF was the sort of with Mark Maron was sort of the boilerplate everyone was doing. And we were kind of like, what about a podcast where instead of comedians talking about comedy, like let's just fucking bullshit the way comedians talk when no one's around, you know? And like let's talk the way we talk to each other. Like let's just do crazy wild shit. And it's uh it's mildly paid off. I would say we've achieved mediocre success. If anyone wants to check out the Rat Dude Cast, but it's still fun to do.
I mean, with that being said, so where do you see it going? Do you want to try to blow it up, you know, like it's a Barstool or like a Ringer podcast? Or are you just happy doing it for fun? Or kind of give me an idea of the roadmap?
Oh yeah, I mean the roadmap. Like, look, we've always, you know, I think if you're in show business, it's like you want success, you know, like it's like of course we want it to keep being fun. Of course I want my comedy to stay true to what my comedy is. But on both of those fronts, yeah, of course we want growth. You know,
Yeah.
I want to be a bigger stand-up comedian. I want a bigger podcast. Like that's, you know, it'd be a very strange answer to be like, no, like I don't want any money.
Yeah,
From,
yeah.
you know, like yeah. So and we have, you know, we have achieved pretty good, you know, we make money off it. We it's good, you know, like so it's getting there. We'll see.
Awesome, good to hear. Well, I mean, you guys are hilarious, so we look forward to you guys keeping it up. So we're gonna finish with a little answer the internet questions. For those unfamiliar with ATI, Answer the Internet is a card game with hypothetical questions, fuck, marry, kill, those sort of type of questions. Created by KFC and Fights over at Barstool Radio. Unfortunately, this is not sponsored, so this is a free plug for them. But Brad and I, Brendan, are each going to give you a hypothetical, and this is one of my favorite ones because I find it really interesting. Are you smarter than Christopher Columbus? Because there's a lot of ways you could look at this.
Yeah. It's difficult because, like, you know, I could say, yes, I am. I think Christopher Columbus has skills that I obviously don't have in terms of navigational skills and seamanship and that sort of thing. But I think with the 370 some years or whatever I have on him, I think we've learned so much more about the world and how it works that I would say I do know more. Uh, I do have a better understanding of how the world works scientifically and otherwise than Christopher Columbus. Um, and I think I also am confident that I could, if I dedicated my life to it, learn the things that he was able to do, like navigate by the stars and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go with yes, but we've also never seen Christopher Columbus in 2020. So
that's a good point. So you could look at it two different ways. Let's say you were born in the 15th century,
Yeah.
same time, same year.
Yeah.
You think you could outdo what he did?
Oh, that's
Same
a different
goes.
question. That's a
Same.
different question.
Is it though?
Well, that would imply that I have the same goals as him. Like
Okay. Let's.
yeah. So if I had the same goals as him, could I outdo what he did?
Let's say you got there in 1491 instead of 1492.
Right. Could I outdo what he did? I would like to say yes, because I believe that I could learn the same skills he did with my intellectual capacity. And then I would like to think my moral compass would be a little bit better than his. So upon arrival, I would have done a bit better with some
Morally and ethically.
He was also crazy. But so am I. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been in the mental hospital a bunch of times. So I have struggled with mental illness, but he was worse crazy than me. He thought after he discovered America, he like kind of lost it, and he thought he was God. It was really weird. Like, they think, looking back, that he may have been a schizophrenic.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, also, if I discovered a new continent, I'd be pretty hype on myself too.
Yeah, right. I mean, that is a godlike thing to do. Here's the land that no one knew about, no white person knew about,
Yeah.
other than the Vikings, who just didn't tell anyone.
Right.
I mean, a lot of TikTokers think they're gods right now, and they didn't discover anything. So,
Yeah.
All right, I'm curious, because being in Cleveland, this one, I'm curious about your answer to this one. Would you rather wear cargo shorts every day or no socks ever again?
Oh, fucking no socks ever again, man.
Okay.
Definitely. I hate cargo shorts. I hate them with a passion, and I honestly don't. I love shoes. I'm a big sneaker guy. So how I would deal with that issue, because I don't mind not wearing socks. I just the only thing that gets to me is your shoes get kind of grody.
Right.
So I would just get fucking new shoes all the time, and not be a cargo shorts asshole. And not to shit on anyone that wears cargo shorts, but every day that's
too much.
That's too much. That's
Well, I was thinking, because even in the winter, your legs are going to be cold.
yeah, it's a ridiculous. I would say anyone who selects cargo shorts is an insane person. Of that, the Christopher Columbus one was difficult. That one, you got to be crazy to pick
The cargo shorts.
Yeah, unless maybe. Well, even if you live in the tropics, then it's like, well, wear flip-flops, like, you don't need socks then either. So yeah,
It's a good point.
100%.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. These are fun. The Christopher Columbus one is hard.
It sparks a good debate, because you have to really think about the word smarter and what that means. And then it's almost comparing apples to oranges, because obviously one's in the 21st century and one's in the 15th century. So, but it's interesting to hear people's responses, because they're all different.
Yeah, it's there's so many different ways to look at it, I guess. I don't know. And we also, I guess, we don't know how smart, like, if we're just measuring intelligence, we have no baseline for where Christopher Columbus was at, other than the things he did. Like, there weren't tests back then, like, we don't even really know. I guess he most likely went to college. I don't know. I have no idea.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know how things worked back then.
No, there were like 4 colleges. He probably didn't.
He just got a boat and sailed
And went, man, and hope not to fall off the edge of the world.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well, those were our Answer the Internet questions. You can download the Answer the Internet app or buy the card set from barstoolsports.com. Again, not sponsored, but you're welcome. All right, Brendan, thank you for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
You wanna plug your social media?
Yeah, you can follow me at Airbud, EYREBUD, on Twitter and Instagram. And this really funny dude. I worked with named Aaron Weber. He's out of Nashville. Was like, dude, you got to get on TikTok. And I was like, I'm not fucking getting on TikTok. It's teenage girls twerking. I'm not watching that shit. And he was like, dude, just trust me. And I ignored it. And then at the beginning of this month, I was like, fuck it, I'll throw some stand-up clips up. And I have like 2 million views already. So
Oh wow.
oh, dude.
Damn.
Now I'm only a TikTok guy.
Yeah.
So I'm at real Brendan Eyre on TikTok. I don't know if that even matters. I don't know how followers work on TikTok. I don't know. I
Me
still
either.
I don't understand it. I don't even go. I don't scroll through it because I'm like, oh, here's a hot girl dancing. Here's a hot girl dancing. Here's a fucking 12-year-old girl dancing. How is this legal? Like, I can't. Don't show me this shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, so you can, and then I'll be at the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, Indiana. If any of your listeners are there, October 9th and 10th, one show only each night, and they're doing really good social distancing, sanitizing, all that stuff.
Nice.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Sounds great. So again, go follow Brendan Eyre, EYRE Bud on Twitter and Instagram. Go follow the Rad Dudecast as well. Listen to them wherever you find your podcast at Rad Dudecast. You can follow us again at Johnny Radio Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can listen to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we are now on Amazon Music. So, I mean, if you're on there, go check us out. So, Brendan, thanks again, man.
Thank you guys so much. This was fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, when things get back to normal, we'll try to have you back on and see how you're doing.
All right, sounds good. Take care, guys.
Awesome, man. You too, man.
I swear to God I wasn't born to fight. Maybe just a little bit, enough to make me sick of it. But I can read between the lines. I want to run from everything, but my legs won't work, it's clear to me. Been much myself, and I feel like my friends are being put through this hell feeling. I think that I'm living, if you could call it living, so brash and unforgiving, ruled by the vibe I'm bringing, serving myself, serving myself. Timing's poor, I know it's never right. It's hard to see this time of night, hard to know the reasons why I fucked it up again. Still I breathe a sigh, it doesn't seem so lucky now, but maybe I can figure out why I haven't been much myself, and I feel like my friends are being put through this hell feeling. I think that I'm living, if you could call it living, so brash and unforgiving, ruled by the vibe I'm bringing, serving myself, serving myself. I'll be making my own way now. I'll be making my own way now to where I got to be. Wait and see. I'll be making my own way now. I'll be making my own way now to where I got to be. Wait and see.